Good morning, welcome to our small footprint. I'm Nyssa. So in a few videos I have done some snippets of our sourdough bagels and I've had some questions about them, so I'm going to do them from start to finish today. Though I did make the dough last night, and because it was dark, because we don't have any proper lighting in our kitchen, I didn't bring you along, but Sonnet and I made the dough last night. Here I make a quadruple batch of dough, so this is a double batch, and then I make another double batch, and this is doubled in the overnight. So we make it at night time and it just gets left on the bench and I use it the next morning. I use Little Spoon Farms bagel dough recipe, so I will link that in the comments below. And we find that it works really well. I do adapt it slightly depending on the weather. Sometimes it needs a little bit more flour or a little bit more water. It's quite a stiff dough, so you know when it feels right. And then an overnight proof seems to work quite well. Our nights are getting to about anywhere between 17 and 20, I suppose, is our minimums overnight at the moment. So making the dough at 8 o'clock, and then it's actually quite late this morning. I'm not sure what time it is. Let me check. It is 11 actually. So it's a bit later than I would normally do it, and the dough is ready but not overly done, so it should be fine. So I'll bring you along on how I make these. I do them fairly precise. I weigh the dough and stuff because I want to know the portions, and we want to make sure that there's enough to cover a few meals for the effort, which is why I make a quadruple batch. So I'll bring you over to the bench and show you how I do it. Alright, so first things first, here's the first lot of dough. I'm going to put a little bit of flour out on my mat and just tip the dough straight onto the mat. Now I'm going to portion this out into 100 gram portions. My dough cutter was just here somewhere. There we go. And use my scales to weigh them into the 100 gram portions. You don't have to be as precise, but as I said, I like to portion out the food so that I know exactly how many I'm getting, and the more uniform the size of them are, the more uniformly they'll cook too. So if they're all the same, approximately the same size and weight, then they're going to all cook at the same rate. If you want the chair, take the chair, Sonnet, but just normally get 17, I think, from each double batch. So there we go. So now we shape them all into balls. Use a tiny bit of flour just for the top of them, and then let's see if I can get this in the right spot. Shape them into a ball, and then I just use a motion where you're pinching the middle of them in your hands to create a seal on the bottom, like this. So you've got a pinched seal on the bottom, like that, and a ball, and then we put those to the side to rest while we ball the rest of them up. A little bit of flour on the mat so they don't stick, and then move on and do the rest.
Mom?
Yes. You have to ask Dad. No. So just keep going till you got all of them in balls. See if I can get a better angle for you to see what I'm doing here. Alright, so we're bringing all the edges in to create this skin, and then using your hands to pinch the, can't seem to get it in exactly the right spot, there we go, using your hands to roll it and pinch that dough underneath until it's got a seal. So that's got a skin on the top there, and then a nice pinch seal on the bottom. One more, and then so we're folding it all in to create a skin and pinching it at the bottom, and then using our hands to just rotate the dough so that it's pinching. Nice skin on the top, pinch together at the bottom. Alrighty, so 17 balls, like I guesstimated. So now that they've all been balled up like that, what we've got to do is create the bagel shape. So a little bit of flour on the board, and then I place the balls in that little bit of flour. I stick my thumb through the middle, pick it up, and then expand the hole a little and just rotate it around like that until you've got a bagel shape. That's all there is to it. So what I do is I put them on a tray before I boil them. So I just lay them out on the tray that I'm going to end up baking them on. I use a little bit of semolina on the tray to stop them from sticking while they're waiting for me to boil. Just a light sprinkle on the tray, and then just like, realise you can't see that, just a light sprinkle of semolina like that, and then I just place them on there while I'm waiting. So then, and then I just continue the process. So thumb in the middle, and then expand the hole, rotate it to try and get it as evenly as possible, just like that. And then just place it on the tray. No need to be particularly precise about it. They expand and grow when they're being boiled, and then they fill out again when they're being baked. So thumb in, expand, just like that. So I'll get the rest of these done. Go, last one. So again, I can fit a half tray and a quarter tray in my oven, so the double batch works out well because I can cook them all at the same time. So I'm going to get a pot on to boil, and we'll boil these up. Alright, second batch of dough all shaped as well. Water is almost at a boil, so getting ready to boil them up now. Now I have this Camp Chef stove that I got on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. 2 burner. It's a lot more powerful than my stovetop, so it's great for canning, for doing stuff in my canner, but also for stuff that requires water to stay on the boil. So if the water drops off the boil, the bagels tend to sink to the bottom and they'll stick a little bit to the bottom of the pan and they'll get a bit of a flat spot. So you want enough water, so you want a nice deep pan with enough water in it to allow them to pop straight back up to the surface, and you want to keep it at a rolling boil as much as possible. So we do 90 seconds on each side of the bagels. So at the moment the water's not quite at a boil, and I am going to add about a quarter of a cup, about a bit less than a quarter of a cup of sugar into the water, which helps get that nice shiny brown surface on bagels. And then I'm just going to wait for this water to come up to the boil. Alrighty, so we have the water boiling and I'm ready to put some in. So I just place them gently in. I try and put 6 in at a time because that just makes sense. I have a little timer doobie that I put a minute and a half on, and I start it. And then at a minute and a half I flip them, and then another minute and a half I pull them out and put them on a baking tray ready to go in the oven. So I boil, I need to do seasoning up for them as well, which I just realised I haven't done yet. So I make a everything bagel, everything but the bagel type seasoning. Some garlic, onion, salt, poppy seeds, sesame seeds. I think I've got some black sesame seeds but not some white sesame seeds, so I'll just use those this time. I put everything, all the garlic and onion in the pestle and mortar, and give it a bit of a break up, and then mix it with salt. So once these are turned, I'll spin the camera back around and I'll show you how I make that, because you don't need to see all of these boiled obviously. One batch of them is enough to give you an idea. So there's the timer for a minute and a half. I just stop it and start it again, and then I flip each bagel over, just like that. And then they'll boil for another minute and a half, and then I'll pull them out and put them on the tray. Alright, let me bring you back around and we'll make up the bagel seasoning, and I'll just keep on doing the flipping and turning as I go. Here's the first ones off the boil compared to the ones that haven't been boiled yet, so they do increase in size a fair bit. So now we're going to get the next lot going. Alright, I got about 6 tablespoons each of dried garlic flakes and dried onion flakes. I'm just going to break these up a little bit so that they're a little bit smaller pieces. They stick to the bagel better if they're smaller pieces. Doesn't need to be too small, just broken up a little bit to blend through the other ingredients better and stick to the bagels that little bit easier. I like the crunch of the significant pieces on the top. If you could use powdered stuff if you want. I'm going to turn bagels and back. Alright, so you can use straight up powder if you want. I like the little chunks. I enjoy the crunch of it on the bagels. Once they're cooked up, it all cooks up nicely. Alright, now I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of poppy seeds. I really like that. So we had 6 of garlic, 6 of onion, 3 of poppy seeds, and then, as I said, I don't have any white sesame seeds, but I've got some black ones, so give you a similar flavour anyway. 4, 5, 6. We'll mix that up and see how that looks. Alright. You can add anything you want to this seasoning mix realistically. This is a very basic one. End of the month, low on a few ingredients. So then we need to add some salt. Now, I would prefer to use flake salt, but I don't have any at the moment. Hoping to get some at Costco if they've got some, so I'm just going to use fine salt. And it's just, let me get these bagels. Alright, so I'm just going to use some fine salt because I don't have any flake salt, so I'll back off that a little bit. I might put 1.5 tablespoons. You can always salt the toppings in the bagel if we need more. Alright, so that looks like a pretty good mix. So now I'm just going to grab a bowl that I can dip the bagels in because I don't want to get my mortar and pestle wet. And another set of bagels, just a minute. Alright, I find something that's wide enough to put the whole bagel in works, so I'm going to scoop some of this into here. Whatever I don't use today will just go into a jar. And then I've got my cooked bagels here, and all I do is I pick them up, place it, and then place it back on the tray. Just like that. So I'm going to finish these, and then I'm going to stick them in the oven, and then I will bring you back when they're all baked. Alright, first 2 trays going in the oven. Now, Little Spoon Farms recipe says that you should cook it for about 25 to 28 minutes at about 218. So follow that if you've got an oven that actually listens to you, but as I've said before, mine doesn't. So I find it normally takes 30-35 minutes, but that's probably because my oven just doesn't hold temperature very well, so it doesn't matter whether I get it to start on the right temperature, but it's unlikely to stick to that temperature. So you'll have to see how you go, but her recipe states 25 to 28 minutes at 218 Celsius or 425 Fahrenheit. Alrighty, been about 30 minutes, first right out of the oven, nice and brown on the bottom and nicely toasted on top, all the spices toasted as well. So, first 2 trays, and then I'll put the next 2 trays in to cook as well. there you go. That is my method, using the Little Spoon Farm recipe as a base for sourdough bagels. It's pretty simple, and I find it pretty fail-proof. I've had the dough overproof and it's too hard to handle to put into rings, so that's not a great thing. But underproofed, you can cook them, they just end up denser and chewier. But if you shape them into balls and then into rings and leave them for a while, then they'll probably proof enough anyway. It's a nice low hydration stiff dough, so it's a lot easier to handle than some of the higher hydration boule doughs and things like that. So, and I really like the fact that it's portion controlled, so each bagel is 100 grams. I know how many it makes. The children get a bagel as a part of their meal or whatever. The kid, they like it with as bread on the side of soup, or they eat them as breakfast sandwiches like I fixed ours, or anything like that. So I know how far they'll stretch, whereas if I bake a boule or I bake a loaf, then the kids can go through the whole thing in one sitting. They just keep cutting slices off them and eat it. That's just what they do. So one of our other favorites is sourdough English muffins, so I'll have to do them for you as well. I don't bother making them circle, I just cut them square because it's heaps easier, but I'll share those. And we do sourdough cinnamon scrolls as well, which are really nice. So again, I'll have to share all those with you another time, but for today that was the sourdough bagels. I hope it was informative and might encourage you to give them a go, because they really are pretty simple and forgiving, and something different. Like, it's not something I would have eaten on the regular beforehand. I have bought them from Costco before, but they're not anything like the ones that I get from Costco. I don't know, apparently there's different styles of bagels. I'm not real sure, because they're more of an American bread than Australian. But a friend of mine always says that she's been trying to make New York style bagels, and I'm not entirely sure what that means. So if I ever go to America, which is highly unlikely, maybe I'll have to try a few different types and see what sort of type it is that I'm making. But anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and let me know anything in the comments that I can fix for doing it all. And if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, hit the bell to be notified of anything more, and just have a good day. See you later.